Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda-Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our Mom Sense and Dad Sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Did you know DEI affects profitability, innovation, job performance, and turnover? Companies with gender and ethnic diversity in their executive teams are 39% more likely to outperform their competitors on profitability. Inclusive organizations are 73% more likely to generate revenue in innovative ways. Employees who feel a strong sense of belonging have a 56% increase in job performance. And lastly, employees who feel a strong sense of belonging have a 50% reduction in turnover risk. Today, I'm joined by my friend and trailblazer, ALICIN REIDY Williamson. She knows these stats all too well. She is the Chief Diversity and Culture Officer at Yahoo and President of Makers. For over 25 years, REIDY Williamson has led culture, purpose, and DEI for top companies including Endeavor, the Ray-Ban Group, Viacom, and MTV Networks. Today, we're going to discuss how DEI should not just be about checking a box because it's critical to a corporation's long-term success, why EQ is a marker for an effective CEO, and how we must amplify the mission of female leaders across industries to thrive as a society. We're also going to tie these values to parenting and how we can teach our kids to value diverse backgrounds, opinions, and experiences in order to grow and move in the world. So ALICIN, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Me too. I have to share with the audience how we connected. It was at Sheila Lirio Marcello's home, and Neha Root of Mother Untitled was hosting an event with Makers and with Ojai. And I just have to say that, like, at the jump, my first impression of you, I was so amazed at your humility and kindness because she was giving the fireside chat, y'all. So she was the main event and she was working the room beforehand. And my friend and I, Anu Segal, who you're connected with, yes. We were chatting and, you know, she just joined the group and we all had a little powwow about kids and culture and being bilingual. And it was wonderful. And I think, you know, to meet those who are in executive positions, to not have that pretense and treat everyone the same, it's so refreshing. And I really, it meant a lot to me.
Well, first, thank you for that. But that's, I guess I can't imagine being any other way. And I think especially as parents or mothers in particular, we actually learn humility pretty quickly with, all the different ways that our children manage to humble us. And also kindness, because we know all of the things that we're probably navigating in order to show up at an event like that Sheila hosted. And Sheila is incredible in her convening and community building. But that is like knowing that we're there for a purpose, but also knowing what we probably have waiting for us back at the homestead.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There is this mutual understanding, which is just so beautiful. I want to start with your childhood. I'd love for you to share with the audience a little more about your upbringing.
Sure. Well, I grew up in upstate New York. My mom was 18 years old when she had me. My parents wanted children. And in fact, I was joined by 5 younger siblings. I just can't imagine having 6 kids in upstate New York. And, my parents were both well educated. They went to college. They went to graduate school. They worked full time when they were doing that. And at the end of the day, I was also a Gen Xer.
Yes.
Right. And so there were a couple times where I was forgotten at dance class or, maybe they didn't go to every performance that I had at school. When I say that, and I do joke about it because the fact was that I was in dance class and I was performing and I did take piano lessons, as did my siblings, and they were involved in sports. And so it was always something that my parents just imbued in us, that that those things were very important, that academics, absolutely, but also just creating these opportunities for us to grow and be creative. And what it probably took for them to be able to make that happen for us is something that I think about, especially now, all the time. Yes.
And no, I think back to those days too. And, so many of my friends and, me for a period were latchkey kids. And we, had to be very responsible and, manage our schedules on our own. And I think that's something that we do have to pass on to our kids, make it so that they're not so coddled. And like you said, something that I believe in, I definitely want to pass on to our kiddos is coming from an immigrant Indian household, everyone's straight A's. I have changed that, reframed it to, I want all A's, but I want academics, athletics, and the arts.
Oh, nice.
I think that holistic straight A's is what we're going for. Because if you're just pigeonholed, you're missing out. And that's not what childhood and life is about.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. And I also, it's so funny when you were talking about the latchkey kid, absolutely. Watching wildly inappropriate television, which is the thing that I also have to calm myself down when I think about what, my kids probably have access to.
Right.
Yeah, that well-roundedness, and certainly the understanding that there's so much to experience, and just the curiosity is so important. And that, I think, was absolutely something that, my parents were curious. They were kids when they were parents. And so that just really came through quite significantly. Conversely, I was much older when I started having kids. I was trying to really pull that through as well, just so that we were just, again, carrying that through to the best of our ability. And, thinking about all the ways that we can break through some of the serious expectations that we have, and creating some exhale space for our kids, which, we had the benefit of growing up. So making sure that they still have that.
So true. One thing about you that I absolutely love is how self-motivated and driven you were as a child. You looked up to Condoleezza Rice, our 66th Secretary of State, and followed in her footsteps with learning classical piano and Russian. And I just think, wow. One thing to know that you're going to go off the beaten path, but say okay, this is a woman who has done it and succeeded, and I can do it too. Amazed.
If ever there was an example of representation matters, that was it. I was sitting up in upstate New York, not a lot of kids of color around, and certainly not a lot of people on television at the time who were in politics and just showing up so amazingly in this very incredible way, achieved, right, as diplomat, but also creative. And all of a sudden, I thought I could be it. And so I wanted to be a diplomat. I wanted to follow in those footsteps. And so I was laser focused from the time, certainly in middle school, where I was looking at like, how do I, loving the language and understanding. I do feel that when you're actually experiencing a language different from your original language, you understand people differently and probably a little bit better. And so that experience was incredible. So I studied Spanish in middle school and high school. I went to live in Spain during high school. And but also, again, in seeing sort of the opportunities that might be available to just travel the world and be, again, a statesperson in the likes of Condoleezza Rice, it was easy to drive and focus because I knew it was possible.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing to see someone who paved the way and say, I see myself in her. If I were to take it back to a young Allison and some core memories, was there one composer that you loved playing his pieces the most?
Mendelssohn.
Oh, wow.
Mendelssohn.
Wow. And then do you have a phrase in Russian you could share with us?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh my gosh. Well, it's so funny because I will say this, that I studied Russian, I spoke Russian, and then I didn't for a long time. And then in 2020, started Duolingo and got the,
so fun.
Got back into it. But I don't know that I have, I could tell you in Russian what the phrase is, but I actually remember one of my professors, his favorite expression in Russian, and I wish I could say it now, it was, if you're over 50 and you wake up and you don't feel any aches or pains, then you're probably dead. But he would say this in front of the classroom. And of course, we're 19, 18 years old. We're like,
not landing.
What? But of course, it becomes much more relevant as you hit that point. And you just start thinking, okay, got it.
He knew what he was talking about.
But it was very funny. He would just mutter it in Russian. And then we would ask, like, what is that? What does that mean? And he would say it. Okay. But now we get it.
Yes.
Now we get it.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Tell us a little bit about your, higher education and what you pursued that brought you to this point.
I graduated from Tufts University with my international relations degree, ready to go take on the world and be the diplomat that I knew I wanted to be. Graduated during a recession.
Yeah.
And therefore started to realize relatively quickly that my trajectory was going to be more along the lines of like whatever's available, I'm taking.
Sure. Yeah.
So the great news is that I ended up working at the Children's Defense Fund and working for the general counsel at the time as his secretary. And people will say, oh, you were his assistant? No. I was his secretary.
Okay.
And it was the best and hardest job I think I've had to date. It was the time of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And Children's Defense Fund was working with legislators on the Hill to try to advocate for the U.S. to sign it. And so I was both like considering like, okay, well, this is international.
Yes.
And at the same, so that was great and rewarding. And at the same time, we were releasing the report Child Poverty in America in 1990. And because I worked for the General Counsel, I was able to see the early stages of it, just to go through the document. And it became clear to me that a lot of work, while the world is important, we needed to look at what was happening right here in the United States.
Right here, yep, in our own place.
Exactly. So shortly after, I went back to Tufts to grad school to study urban policy. I did all of the coursework. I did not write my thesis.
Okay.
And so, and this was the thing that my mom, who I think by the age of 25, having maybe a little bit older, but she had 6 kids at the time, at least 5, had already finished her master's and was going on to like additional post-grad work. So obviously this was a bone of contention that I had not finished my graduate degree entirely. And so again, in 2020, and I'll fill in what happened in between, But because I lost my mother then, unexpectedly.
So sorry.
Thank you. But this will go to, I'm sure, part of our conversation as well, of what we're all navigating as we still have to show up fully,
right,
for all the people who depend on us. But the opportunity and all of that chaos and sadness was, Tufts allowed me to continue my degree. And they, at that point, which they didn't have when I started, at that point they had an executive, like an MPP.
Yes.
And so I was able to take the courses and do the papers for the year remotely because everything was online.
Right.
And so I graduated with my master's degree in public policy in 2021.
Oh, my goodness.
My husband, very helpfully, as we were watching the virtual graduation, said, it looks like some of your classmates may have been born the year you started your graduate degree, which was true, but unnecessary.
Right, I know. Oh my gosh.
So that was a great moment. I felt very proud of it. I was so grateful to Tufts University for allowing me to do that. And certainly I knew that my mother would be very proud.
Oh yeah. That was your mother's blessings right there.
Yes.
She made that happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
truly.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And then if we were to fast forward, let's talk about your role at Yahoo, because you were CEO, Jim Lanzone's first hire.
I am very proud of that. And
Yes.
I talk about that a lot because it says so much about him, in my opinion. He leads with high EQ. He trusts his people. He also understands the importance of culture and what diversity, equity, inclusion has to contribute as foundational to that. And not only culture, but to the success of a company.
Yes.
And the statistics that you quoted at the top of the session really indicate just that how important it is for us to get that right. It's an incredible company with incredible people, and we need to make sure that we are still thinking about how to be innovative, how to be transformational, and have a growth mindset. That is DEI. Sometimes I think it's heard as like, a bragging moment, but really about me. But it's not about me. It's actually really about him.
It's about, yes.
It's about Jim.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's about the big picture and the vision and what you're trying to cultivate. Would you say that it's something that is best created top down, or is it through the need of the consumers? Where is it that it's like, okay, they get it?
Well, I think there are multiple inputs. However, it has to be clear from the very beginning that this is part of the core.
Right.
And that comes from the leadership.
Yeah.
That comes from the message. It comes from consistently showing what that means and looks like. Not just saying it, but actually making it happen, letting people understand like what it means and what it translates into, and pointing very directly to it. Absolutely, it has to do with consumers and our clients and our partners, because we're also acknowledging we understand that we're there to serve them.
Yes.
And so how can we possibly make sure we're serving everyone that we should be and we must be if we're not thinking expansively about what it is that they're going to want and need? And so if we have a very singular myopic mindset, obviously we're going to lose a significant amount of consumers. 100%. And so starting certainly with the top for the internal and making sure everyone in the company knows that this is important, that it's actually, and this is how it's done. It allows both for everyone to thrive. And that's the thing that I'm really always crystal clear about diversity, equity, inclusion. This is not about one particular group. It is not zero sum. This is about raising all boats.
Yes.
And that is something that I focus on and ensure that people understand, because it's critical that everyone knows that they're part of this journey.
Right. 100%. And how has it evolved over the years? Because now it's top of mind. It should have been at the onset, these, not just in big tech, in corporations across the board, in societies. But yeah, what have you seen in your experience through the evolution?
Sure. Well, of course it's evolved, because hopefully we as humans are evolving. We're getting better, smarter. We're getting globalization, all of the ways that we can understand people better. I learn every day. Language that we're using now that we weren't using 5-6 years ago, really important. And so that's part of the opportunity in just having, again, understanding more and more about what keeps people from showing up their fullest.
Yeah.
And, even with this parent lens, it's what keeps our children from thriving, right? How do we want our children to be able to show up fully and be like great, like humans and citizens of the world? And what gets in the way of that? And so the opportunity of like this evolution is, I think it makes us better. Yeah. And I think it makes us smarter. And then there will always be people, unfortunately, who think it's not about them. And in fact, when you point out examples of what it means when we now recognize ADHD in adults, we weren't talking about that 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. What that means about how we can actually maximize and have them lean in more and be supported more to do what they do so well. Right. Or all of the different ways that people are showing up, but being able to show up fully without bucketing or hiding parts of who they are. And thereby we lose so much of what they're able to contribute.
Yes. Could you provide some practical strategies for those who are listening who are in the C-suite and in leadership roles to really cultivate an inclusive environment in their companies?
If we show up with the goal of everyone having a sense of belonging, then we get to look at what does that mean? And we look at both, sure, there are community building opportunities, but sometimes they're as simple as how do we communicate? How do we recognize performance? How do we understand who's successful where we're sitting? Yeah. Right. And so what are those processes and policies that we have in place that fully recognize all of the contributions that people are bringing to the table? Mm-hmm. What are the ways that we're able to like look at different like benefits? Yes. And how they support our employees, as well as what, again, are some of the struggles of people getting to be their best selves at the office or the office now, with the work, but at work.
Yes, the workplace.
But speaking of that, like understanding now, and we have so much data about how people perform best. And so Yahoo has a flexible working experience, knowing that some people absolutely need to get up, show up every day in an office environment, while others do some of their best work, maybe in their sweatpants, sitting in their living room. It doesn't mean that they aren't going to do the work, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to do it well. We're actually now understanding how to maximize the best out of people.
Yes, the output. Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. How are kind of parents really taken care of? Because we don't have a universal parental leave policy in the U.S., which is truly like alarming. So it's up to companies and corporations to mandate what that looks like for them. So how do you take care of the parents?
Well, I think starting with this flexible working experience, we're also able to recognize that this means that it allows for both parents and for anyone who's taking care of someone else.
Yes,
we have a number of people who are taking care of their parents.
Right.
And so what are the ways that they can now structure their lives, work at a company, and but also be there and feel like they're there for their families and the people they're caring for. It also means that we can look at our policies and even our insurance policies of how we make sure that we can make sure we have like the proper health care for our families and our children. The other is like looking at what are we doing for like our expectations of even how our hours work or our vacation policies. So all of that gets examined both in thinking about what we can add, but also maybe what we need to disrupt a little bit. So that we can take away some of the stressors. We know that we just came through that first week of Labor Day and return to school.
Back to reality.
Depending on how old your children are, we know that you get maybe 2 hours a day the first day. Right. And maybe it's sort of a weird schedule that needs to be navigated. Having and encouraging leaders and managers to like recognize that is the reality of their employees. Right. That it's, we're working hard. We absolutely are. We also want people to work like joyfully.
Yes.
And know that there are all of these realities that are beyond our control.
Right.
That we need to make sure that we can help people navigate.
Exactly. It's like you're not going to have a town hall at 8 a.m. the first week of school.
Oh my gosh.
You read the room.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Join Makers, a Yahoo media and community brand aiming to accelerate gender equity in the workplace and beyond for the 2025 Makers Conference, happening February 24th through 26th in Los Angeles, California at Naya Studios. It's the 10th anniversary of this special event, designed for leaders across industries and generations to get inspired, find their role in the fight for equity, and set the agenda for action. Meet game changers, build practical skills, and be a part of this powerful movement. Learn more at makers.com/conference. I am so proud to be part of this community. And now back to the interview with the president of Makers, ALICIN REIDY Williamson. I wanted to shift gears and talk about EQ, because that's something that really matters to you and your leadership. How do you feel like it drives DEI initiatives? Like, that's one major component.
I would say that I don't have a lot of DEI initiatives. I suppose maybe you could call our employer resource groups, one of those pieces. A lot of the work that my team focuses on is really embedding and infusing this idea of how do people belong, how do we make sure people belong?
Yeah.
And then certainly what is required for the leadership to be able to do that.
Yes.
And that is EQ. To have that understanding that you're not going to have an 8 a.m. standing management team meeting. Right. Particularly that first week of school, but also how about never?
Yeah. Yeah,
we
exactly. It's just not a good time slot.
It's just, and so
that's drop off.
That is drop off. Yeah. And we all know that pain.
Yes.
Because somehow even 9 a.m., depending on if you have a 2-year-old, is a little bit of a push because, the winter coats.
Yes.
So there's that. But the EQ though is essential for, and by the way, that's what Jim Lanzone, as I mentioned before, leads with and expects from every one of his leaders.
Yeah.
And so what that does do is it means that we are hiring for that, and we're encouraging, and we're making sure that people understand what that means and looks like. By the way, it's also consistency and not being mercurial.
Right.
Like having this place where people know what to expect from us, and that we then know what we can expect from them.
Yes.
And making sure, and understanding more about what they're, again, I use this phrase navigating, but we're navigating each other, we're navigating the world, we're navigating our commute.
Yeah.
And so what are the things that we can be empathetic around that still allows, and especially allows for people to show up fully and do their work to the best of their ability?
Yes. I mean, this is something that you have to suss out at the interview, but it's also the ongoing team player mentality that you have to make sure prevails. So how do you keep that? How do you make sure that there's, no toxicity brewing, and everybody's a team and everyone has a certain emotional quotient to what they do?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of our core principles, is be a good teammate. And what does that mean? And we talk about that, and we actually give examples when we want people to highlight, this is actually what that felt like when someone was being a really good teammate to me.
Ah, nice.
Okay. And it's ambition, but the good ambition where we want to win, and we want to win with everyone on next to us.
Yes.
And that's part of what is just core throughout the work that we're doing and how we're operating. And so we try to do our best to demonstrate what that looks like. We do it from the very top with the executive team, and as well as through our leadership teams throughout the company, and expect it.
Do you have peer reviews and ongoing things like that?
There are opportunities for people to lob in. Yeah. Absolute, hey, that's that thumbs up to Katrina Eddy for having done this great thing with us, or how it made me able to do what I needed to do.
I love that.
So there are a number of opportunities for that. And it's also something that we recognize. I mean, we use that when we're giving feedback. We use these principles, and we're operating principles that allow for, again, the people to know that if you're coming here, you need to be a good teammate.
Yeah.
And you can have ambition, but have the good kind of ambition where it means that everyone is coming along with you.
Right.
It's very intentional. And it's also been, research has shown that this is actually the way to a winning outcome.
Oh, I believe it. I want to segue into female leadership. What are some of the challenges that you've faced over time?
Generally reframe them as opportunities.
I love that. I love
Yes.
it. Just keep it positive
I try
and
to keep it
optimistic.
positive. Yes.
Yes.
Well, because I do think it's opportunity. It's
Yeah,
opportunity to,
true.
so when I run into a wall of some kind, whether it's, well, let me start with making sure people understand what this work is and why it's important. And so there are people who already have preconceived notions of what it is. We hear about it right now all the time. And my opportunity is to re-educate and let people know what this is actually about. This is about making sure that everyone has a sense of belonging. Everyone. And shockingly, there are some people who do not. And we have to understand why that's the case. The challenge is sometimes that people have decided what I'm about or what my work is with a very myopic understanding. So I actually take that opportunity to inform or re-educate people to make sure they understand why this is actually a benefit to all. And also that the work is something that will not only be great for employees, all employees, but also for the business. The other opportunities that I've found are more along the lines of people who really want to make sure that they're helping and sometimes get stuck in the why something can't happen.
Yeah.
And so part of the opportunity that I also seek is let's be solution oriented. Like if we agree that this would be great to have happen, what are the things that need to be in place or need to be changed, or how do we make it happen?
Right.
As opposed to can't happen.
Yes. Yes.
Like, can't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we want to have happen.
Right.
So what can we do to get there?
Right. Right.
And so,
Yeah.
changing that mindset.
I love that. And I know in a previous interview that I heard you on, you said that if your mom taught you that every no is actually a maybe. And, you make it work. It just requires a reframe.
Yeah.
And, in your capacity as president of Makers and Makers Women, what lights you up there?
Oh my gosh. There's so much. I mean, we could talk about this alone for an hour.
Yes.
It's a privilege to be able to be president of Makers right now. It's a brand and a product that's been around for around 13 years. Started out of AOL. Dylan McGee, just made it so incredibly special for so long. And when I took the reins, I said, there's gold. I've got Janae Hawkins, who is the chief partnerships officer and is making this thing hum. What I get excited about is bringing this opportunity, this idea of community of women interested in making an impact and change broader to expand. I think part of our storytelling, which is what we're known most for, and we do have the largest archive of women's stories, I believe, in the United States.
Incredible.
And the stories are incredible. And the women who are represented are incredible. Many, many common household names, very important, influential women, and some who you've never heard of, but actually have also made our lives infinitely better by existing.
Right.
And so that is the beauty and magic of Makers. And so when we're able to both have those stories of inspiration, but then also tether it to organizations that are doing some incredible work around gender equity, it just makes it so palpable and doable. We've been having a lot of conversations in silos across a lot of entities for a long time.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that we are disrupting or certainly moving out of the things out of the way that we do not want our children to have to deal with?
Yes.
Any of them, boys or girls, non-binary. What are the things that are ridiculous that we still have to have conversations about?
Yep.
And that's Makers. And we have, again, incredible partners. We're meeting incredible women like you and doing this incredible podcast. But we're also being able to partner because it is from Yahoo.
Yeah.
And because of Yahoo that we have this platform that we're partnering with the company to really, again, leverage the platform to tell our stories and to also create impact.
Yes, yes. I'm so honored to be part of Maker Circle and work on this with you because these are the stories that are on the global stage that impact us all. And I think it's so important to have a diversity of voices involved, and you do. So this is so exciting for me.
Oh, well, I mean, we're excited, and we're also just so intentional about making sure that that space is one where all voices are heard.
Yes.
And that we are bringing together. And I've been around for a little bit. You noted the years that I've been working professionally and certainly in this space. And it's very rare that we have a room of women from like every background sitting together, figuring out how do we build community? What can we do together? What gets in the way?
Right.
And then what are the real conversations? But also what are the things that we can together harness our like collective strength and change?
Yes, absolutely. I recently gave a talk at an event called Women Disruptors, and I said it is so important that in addition to, trailblazing in our respective industries, we are uplifting. And this was a theme in makers from previous years ago, but Bazoma St. John gave the best keynote. It's called Don't Be That Bitch. I loved it. And I think it just called out how the only way you can win and we're stronger together and empowered is if we don't have any of those hurdles, girl on girl crime, if you will. And I think, whenever I'm given a stage, I'm so mindful about this. I always call out someone else, someone who has helped me, because I think if we're climbing this ladder to success, I think in a very figurative way, you're going to hold on to one rung with one hand and reach the other one back to help somebody else.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
how to do it.
That's the job. That's the job. And it is hard. It is hard because so many women who've come before us had to just have such sharp elbows just to sit in the room at that table with and be the only one.
Yeah.
And I think part of the opportunity that we have is exactly what you said, which is making sure that we're calling in women who aren't at that table.
Yeah.
Making sure we're looking back and bringing people up that ladder and locking elbows with the women who are around us. So Bose did that session at Makers Conference this past February.
Yes.
And it was so profound in so many ways. I mean, first of all, she's, incredible anyway. But she had this way, like she said, like, by the way, we also have to check to make sure we're not that person. Right. And how do we make sure, like, it's terrible to encounter it, but what are the things that we need to pay attention to ensure that we're not? Yeah. And when you're moving fast, you've got a lot to do. And frankly, like, you're actually wanting to just drive. Yeah. How do we still make sure that we're looking around and making sure that we brought women along with us and we are uplifting? Yes. So it is the me, sure. And it's also the we. The we, yes. Is there anyone that comes to mind that you want to, take a moment to share? Yeah. Judy McGrath, who was the former CEO of MTV Networks, who was always about making sure that we were seen. Carol Robinson, who was my boss, who was head of communications when I was at MTV Networks. And I learned such a great tool from her, which was she brought me in the room. I might not have had a speaking role, but whenever she had meetings with our then CEO, Tom Freston, who was also an incredible advocate, by the way, she just had me there. Oh, and it was part just to make sure you're in the room. You're in it. Yes. And I think there's nothing more important. And it made me feel so connected. And I was, there's, frankly, she's incredible. There's nothing I wouldn't do for that woman. I think also not necessarily knowing exactly what are they going to do at the table, but knowing enough that it's fine to have them there. Yep. And not feeling threatened. Yes. And not worrying about just anything other than I'm going to be an incredible advocate and sponsor, and this person should be at this table. Yes. Yes. And in a past panel that I watched you on, you spoke about imposter syndrome. And so when you are invited into that room and you have that seat at the table, I love how you say it, the itty bitty shitty committee. Oh, shut them up. It is in your brain. And I know there are people who are just like, don't even think about it, don't name it. It's just reality. We're humans. We show up. Voice that it creeps up sometimes. And what's most important is not just to act like it doesn't exist, but more how do you manage it? Right. So, and by the way, the itty bitty shitty committee came from a woman named Ellen East, who was head of communications for It might have been Time Warner Cable at the time.
Okay.
But and because I actually pick up a lot, but I always give credit.
Yes. Oh, I know. I love that about you.
Credit.
We're the same. Yes. Yeah. And you remember.
Yes. Because it was
like,
so
where did
profound.
I learn this?
And because I was like, yes, that's exactly what's dancing around in my head right now.
Yes.
And it's so important to be able to just quell that and have others let you know that you're supposed to be there as well. And it just helps. One of my least favorite questions, and I know many of us are guilty of it, and I probably asked this years ago as well until I figured out it was just not a great question to ask, is, what are you doing here? Usually it's, hey, amazing to see you. What are you doing here? But it still suggests, like, why am I
not supposed to be here?
Am I not supposed to be here?
Yeah.
And so it's, you can express your like joy at seeing someone, or even surprise if you want to express that differently when you're not trying to make someone feel like they don't belong.
Yeah. That's great. I love that you are a curious learner at all phases of life. And I think one that really has you hone in is parenthood.
Yes.
You're just learning, unlearning, going with the flow. Ooh. Tell us about your motherhood experience.
My motherhood experience, as we started, is probably the most humbling experience I ever have had. And I think I had my daughter when I was 38. I know how old I was, my son at 40.
Uh-huh.
What I remember is I delivered at NYU, and I remember when I was leaving, when we were leaving the hospital with her and carrying the car seat and looking around to see if anyone was actually going to like really let us leave with this human life as we were walking out the door. We were given a folder, and there was this one page, and I remember it was on a green piece of paper, and it was a paragraph, and the title was How to Care for Your Child.
Just a paragraph, huh?
Sure. How hard could it be? How hard could it be? Wow. I think about that all the time and laugh, because it has been, talk about learning every day about just the work stuff. I learn every day about this parenting thing. And I actually have been, somehow Instagram has figured out like just all the things that are happening in my life, because it nails it most of the time.
Yes.
And there was one reel that I saw that just said, look, just your child is going to know that this is your first time in this day at this moment being their parent.
Wow.
And what that does is it gives me a little bit of okay, it is true. There's no playbook for this. There are a lot of books written, but there's no playbook for this kid and this mom.
Right.
Who, by the way, happens to be, experiencing menopause at the same time as, puberty for the children.
Oh,
so that is, also fun.
Mm-hmm. I love that. But I think that's the lens that you have to view it and have that vantage point, because there is no rule book. And I think there's so many parenting experts and coaches out there, but only your experience and what you want to impart to your child and who your child is, and that's really what was the impetus for this show and what I call our mom sense, mom sense, dad sense, auntie sense, whatever you want to call it. It's our intuition that is so innate, and it's become this lost instinct. Mm-hmm. And I just want to remind, our audience that like, it's in there. Listen to that voice, because it will never steer you wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say this too, that there is a level of connectivity you have with your children, and that intuitiveness, because you know them so well. And by the way, I don't think it's only if you've had them biologically.
Oh, no, not at all.
Absolutely. However that child is in your life, if you have spent enough time with them and they with you, there is something that has connected you in a way that both, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I will say is it absolutely does take a village.
Yes.
This is, we have 2 kids and 2 parents in our household, and we're outnumbered.
Yeah.
We're outnumbered. Yeah. We've called in our resources of just family, friends, aunties, uncles, certainly. Like, it's just absolutely essential to have that village.
In my Indian background, there is something so special about having a multi-generational village. When I see my kids interacting with their grandparents, it's like, here we have a 6-year-old and an 80-year-old. Like, the dynamic is the sweetest thing, and they know how to kind of channel when they're talking to someone who's older versus a peer versus a teenager. And you want to give them all of those experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say that one of the things that the children had for a long time and don't have as much anymore was that time with their grandparents.
Yeah.
So that value of that. And here's the thing that I will say is, particularly for people who have younger children now, and in some cases are very nervous about how their parents are going to continue all of the things that they have going on in their households. Meaning, and by that I mean, you know, a regimented schedule or foods that they shouldn't eat after a certain time. Drop it.
Yeah.
Let your parents do their thing for their grandchildren.
Right.
When my kids would go down to my parents, it was called Poppy Camp. And it was like ice cream 3 times a day. And is that what I would love for, the 3-year-old? But you know what? It was wonderful. My mom never asked my kids about their grades. That wasn't her job. Yes. And she said that very, very clearly. Her job was just to love them up, buy them Legos, make sure that they helped her bake, and just let them do their thing. They raise children. They're going to be fine. And I do remember thinking, oh, but they have to go to bed. No, they don't.
No. Yeah. Oh,
let them spend the time.
Yeah. We don't have to micromanage that. No, that's so true. That is so true. You've taught your kids to have EQ because we do live in a world where, through social media and just being interconnected all the time, and there's opinions and noise, and you could just get inside your head.
There's so much noise. It's a really interesting time and I'll speak specifically about my children, but just generally for Gen Alpha and Gen Z, there's so much noise. I mean, when we were growing up, you had to go out and buy the magazine. Right. You had to go and find out who was, having a slumber party that you weren't invited to.
Yes.
You might find out over on Monday morning at school.
Yes.
But at the same, now it's just shoved to them and not in a way that even they're asking for. And again, I think that there is some value in social media, so don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But what they are navigating, that noise, is really difficult. And so the high EQ has just started from the beginning of ensuring that we were checking on our friends and asking if someone was okay. And I actually have to say that I'm really proud of who my kids are and who they're becoming. And I'm really excited that I'm going to like them as grownups because you never know.
Yeah. That's so sweet.
But they're such caring individuals, and they're very kind. And I know this not because I'm getting all of that in my household directed towards me, but because of the way I hear other parents talk about them. Yes. And that's how you know. Oh. And there's nothing that just fills me up more when I hear just the hug that my daughter gave one of, the parents upon seeing them, but returning to school, or just the checking on someone who they knew wasn't doing so great.
Right.
There's just the kids are going to be all right. I think it's, there is a lot of noise, but I think if we're showing up for them and showing them what high EQ looks like and how to show empathy, they'll be good.
Yes. Oh, it's such a gift. I love when I hear, fun anecdotes from my kids' teachers. If they're just Miss Kate, how can I help? I'm that's amazing. I'm so glad that you have a kindness and with the adults in your life, and then of course with peers. But yeah, I think it's something you have to really inculcate in the home.
Yes. Absolutely.
Volunteering starts at home.
That's it. Absolutely.
How do you teach them to value diversity and culture? And you are involved in the school.
Yes.
So they're very lucky to have you. But, helping other parents make sure that, your circle isn't so homogeneous. You need to have some, different backgrounds and opinions and all of that in there so that you get a holistic view and show up in the world with all of that.
Yes. Well, I will say we were explicitly very intentional about the school that we sent our children to. And there are plenty of other schools who have this as well, except in the way that I wanted my children to be unboxable. They are biracial children growing up in Manhattan. I have the opportunity for them to be able to be seen as individuals. And in that, wanting them to see everyone as an individual. There's not one way to be Black. There's not one way to be biracial. There's not one way to be white. To have those explanations and anything else, right? Like in seeing like the range of cultures and experiences that influence how people show up, and understanding that, and wanting to be curious and learn more and be just thoughtful about what their role is in making the world a better place.
Yeah.
Right. And so the opportunity of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like, certainly allows for that if you're being conscious of it. I think part of the challenge that, again, among all of the other things that were happening with the COVID and quarantining, is that we became really comfortable in our silos.
Yeah.
And so for many, they haven't broken out of that they're sitting in their homes, with their families, with the friends they've chosen, in the community they've chosen to live in. And depending on what that looks like, and then getting the information or content that they've chosen to stream to themselves, you can get incredibly isolated. And by that, also narrow-minded.
Yeah.
It's very possible if you're not intentional about doing something else.
Right.
So the opportunity is really making sure that we understand why it's so important, how you grow up and understand like what someone else is saying because of your understanding of like just needing to listen.
Yes.
And not necessarily feel that even if someone has a different opinion or disagrees with you, that it has to be disagreeable.
Right.
And it just expanding that mindset is so incredibly important. But you have to be intentional about it. I have to be intentional about it. This is what I do for a living, and you have to think about it. It's important to think about it all the time.
Yes.
And it's, and because I do this for a living, I don't have necessarily the privilege of passion, because it's not about my lived experience. It's about understanding that everyone has a lived experience. And so that's what I actually try to also communicate both to my family, but also to friends, and certainly creating that opportunity for the school to think about what it is that helps ensure every student is able to show up there with a feeling of belonging.
Yes, yes. And we're fortunate to live in New York, where we have that melting pot, which is really, really remarkable. Now I want to do a rapid fire round.
Okay.
So what is one book that changed your life that you'd like to recommend?
Origins.
Nice.
Yes.
And if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would that be?
Harriet Tubman.
Oh, wow. Wow. Your mom sense moment.
I have had a very, very hectic travel schedule and just canceled everything. Just to be home, just to be around, just to pay closer attention. We were unsettled. And so things needed to slow down. And that was the mom sense. It was, okay, I've been moving too much. I'm losing. My eye's not on the ball here.
Right. And we need to all take a beat.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Yeah. And you have to just kind of roll with it sometimes. Sure, it upended, your schedule and things like that. But it's like, no, I'm going to go with this. And that's great. And then lastly, a mantra that you live by.
Well, it goes back to, my mom and dad, my dad who would say, don't sweat the small stuff. And almost all of it is small stuff.
Right.
And then, my mom, as you quoted, said, even most no's, just assume the first one is a maybe.
Yes.
And I do live by that. And I think it actually has served me well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Allison, for your kindness and the optimism that you shared. I am sure so many of you are going to just be enlightened and inspired by our talk today. So thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got some great takeaways from our conversation. Join my community by logging on to thatstotalmomsense.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast, wherever you listen, and be sure to rate and review. On socials, my handle is @Kanika Chadda Gupta, on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and X. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My episode videos are on YouTube and YouTube podcasts with highlights on YouTube Shorts. Write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. My team and I read all your pitches and feedback and are so glad to be in touch. Remember, always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. See you soon.